All right, let's do your stupid show.
Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. It's Hey Watching, yeah.
Welcome to Hey Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan.
I tried to match your energy. I think I did pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Thanks, Dan.
I was going to tell you something personal, but now I'm not going to.
No, tell me something personal. I'm dying. I've known you for 6 years. I don't know anything personal about you. Let's go.
No, this is no, it's too much.
No, wow. This is a hard rejection, guys.
It was not personal. It was about bodily functions. So we probably shouldn't go there.
So it's not something anybody wants to know.
No,
I see.
No,
I
God,
see.
no. You don't want to know this information.
Got it.
Terrible information.
Love it. I love it.
Here on Hate Watching, we watch a movie and then we convene to talk about the movie. And this week, I got to pick a movie. Nowadays, I pick a movie, then I immediately forget what movie I picked. Then I text Tony, "What movie were we doing this week?" And then while I'm typing it yourself, I answer myself. Because I always remember once I ask.
I get home from work and I have 3 texts from you, and one was just like, "What movie are we watching?" Oh, it's Flubber. I was like, okay, this guy's losing his mind over here.
We're watching Flubber.
I mean, we already watched it.
We did, watch it, which I mistakenly thought was Eddie Murphy was in, but he's in The Nutty Professors. This is the one based on The Absent-Minded Professor.
Right.
1997, an hour and 36 minutes, the exact same running time as the original Absent-Minded Professor movie.
Do you think that was on purpose? Do you think they're in the editing room like, all right, cut 10 more seconds to get it down 1 minute. Let's go.
Maybe. This is a Robin Williams joint put out by Disney for kids? Common question.
I mean, maybe. I don't think. Let me say. I did enjoy it as a kid. I saw it when I was younger. I have not seen it since, but I remember I had fond memories of it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like it's Absent-Minded Professor. I saw that as a kid. Fond memories.
Okay.
Do you know who wrote this movie?
No. Should I?
Only one of the mainstay writers of the 80s and 90s.
What? I'm going to try to look it up really quickly.
But you can
John Hughes?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
John Hughes wrote this movie.
No, that's a lie. That's he didn't. Somebody with the same name might have done it. It's not the same John Hughes. This is not a John Hughes movie. I've seen John Hughes films before, and this doesn't fit in with them.
You mean they're generally kind of funny and kind of sweet and kind of heartfelt?
Yeah, and the dialogue's usually a little bit better. That's like my big thing.
John Hughes, at the sort of end of his career, mostly, formed a production company with this other guy, and they produced a couple of films, one of which he wrote. One of the other ones, which he didn't have any, at least writing, directing involved in, a little movie called Jack.
Wait, what? Did we know that when we did it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I did not look up the production company, but
yeah, interesting.
So something was going on.
Something was happening with John Hughes, and we didn't know it.
Yeah. So,
he loved Robin. I can't fault him for that.
They were trying to make a certain sort of movie that maybe just that mojo had sort of disappeared, because these movies are kind of like Jack and Flubber, kind of like faux John Hughes movies, where they try to get to some of those feels that were in there, but they just go in these really, really weird directions that you do not understand.
Yeah. I will say I enjoyed this a lot more than I enjoyed Jack, other than all the erections in Jack.
Yes. They smartly left the erections out of this movie.
I don't know. There's some great stuff in here, which we'll get to, but there's a little, sexual harassment on the part of a robot. So
just a little attempted rape. Very strange.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
You got a robot, you got a human. There's gotta be some sexual contact between them somehow.
There's gonna be a little kissy, smoochy going on.
So what John Hughes did is he took the original script of The Absent-Minded Professor and he rewrote it.
Okay, yeah. So can you just recap for us what the original is about? And because I've never seen it.
Same movie.
It's the same movie but different.
Doesn't get married 3 times. Makes a flying car. Puts the stuff on the shoes of the basketball players. Evil rich guy. Also another guy trying to horn in on his woman. Same movie.
Wow. I guess I didn't expect that. I thought it would be, really different.
I figured, I was like, I remember the original movie. I remember the flying car. I remember the basketball game. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm sure what happened in the original. And I think he sells the Flubber flying car to Ford in that movie too.
I hope it's the same company. That would be great.
Yeah,
that would be good if they just couldn't even come up with a new car company.
So yeah, after I watched half an hour of this movie, I was like, okay, go back to The Absent-Minded Professor, try and figure out, what happened. And I'm like, these are the same movies. And the basketball game happens right in the middle of Act 2 where it means sort of nothing.
Great.
And the one thing that's sort of different is he puts Flubber on the shoes of the rich guy and he's bouncing up and down. And so, literally bounces up and down for 15 minutes of the movie. They leave the scene and go do stuff, and then they come back.
And he's still bouncing.
Then he's still bouncing, and they have to sort of rescue him. And then, in a lot of these Disney movies, what they would end was with a slapstick chase scene in a car. And there's that with the rich guy in his car, and then the Flubber car doing Flubber car things. But that was one thing they sort of got rid of in this version.
I think that was a smart move,
And instead, they made the Flubber sentient and made him have a sexual harassing robot.
Yeah, well, listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
Tony's gone again.
Oh, boy.
Tony's back.
I'm back. I think. I don't know what's going on over here. I'm living in a dead zone.
It doesn't say recording. Oh, but it's the recording button sort of.
Yeah, I never stopped.
So we're still recording. No, we should be recording. So this movie does not have a chase scene, but instead has. I don't even know what the ending is. Is there some sort of... there's a weird battle in the...
Yeah, there's
a
fight scene that doesn't scientifically make any sense. And then the coup de grace is that Flubber destroys a man's intestines and kills him. That's how the movie ends. So.
Yes. Oh, so yeah. So in the original, no flying robot, sexual harasser, and no sentient... The Flubber is not sentient in the...
Okay, so
original.
Dan, this is my biggest question. It is sentient, right?
It is absolutely sentient.
Okay, so here's what I don't quite understand. Then is that we're tearing off pieces of him to make smaller things, and then are the smaller things sentient? I don't understand. When he makes it into a spray bottle, then what is that? Is he melting part of a sentient creature? I don't understand.
Couldn't tell you the answer to any of those questions because that aspect of it makes no fucking sense.
Okay, so, all right, we'll put that in the back burner. Next question. It seems like it can, what's the word I'm looking for? Split itself off, right?
Sure.
Replicate. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It can it can divide itself.
Sure, and then they all seem to have their own... And recombine if he wants to, but it doesn't have to do with his mass. So he never loses mass, does he?
Well, he doesn't lose. The thing is about this size, and then it turns into a bunch of little balls, so it sort of retains the same amount of mass. But during
the dance scene, I remember seeing a bunch of people the same size.
Yeah, but I think they're smaller than the full unit of... Because the little tiny guys that are the audience are pretty small.
Okay. So you think he does retain some semblance of mass?
I mean, they certainly, when the thing breaks apart, you don't get two that are the exact same size ever. They tend to go
Get
smaller.
Okay.
But do I think if you collected everybody from the Mambo scene and weighed them, I think it probably would weigh more
I'm not sure that
Flubber.
I obviously didn't do it scientifically, but I'm just checking because it kind of seems like Flubber could just take over the world because it is sentient and seems to be able to divide itself and still have the same amount of force. Force and energy.
And he's using it and making it into creams and into Tony's gone again. No, he's not gone again. Making it into creams and things along the way. So
which I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense to me, Dan, and it scares me a little bit.
If you're looking for the amazing thing is there's less science in this Flubber movie than there was in the original. So take that as you will.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, not good.
So we start hour 36. Flubber, John Hughes. Titles are just clouds. And these sciencey fonts, these really that are
cool equations.
They were terrible, right? It's just me. They're like
no, they were really bad.
As a title sequence, it was pretty terrible.
I did like the music though. It was a nice jaunt,
Who did the music?
John Williams.
Actual Danny Elfman.
Oh, okay. Actually, that makes sense. Yeah, I was bopping.
There were times in this movie where I sit there and I was like, think to myself, if there wasn't a nice Danny Elfman score over this, this movie would just be used garbage.
Well, what I did see in the credits is that one of the songs is called the Flubber Mambo, so I loved that.
Yeah, that was a Flubber Mambo.
That must have been a Danny Elfman jam.
Yes, he definitely wrote that because I believe, small town newspaper boy, college close to town.
Great.
An alarm goes off, which is a trash can exploding. Is that supposed to wake? Okay. Is that him waking himself up? Is that
no? So he hits the wrong button, but I don't understand what that button is normally for. So his alarm clock is going off, and he's looking for it, and then it falls off the table. So he's not hitting his alarm clock, and he hits a button that shoots his trash can into the sky. I understand that they're going for some sort of a joke here, which is great. But when would you ever use that button? What is the good of that button?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why you'd ever want to throw your trash 50 yards into the air. I don't know.
So then we go downstairs. We get the Rube Goldberg breakfast. Do you know what that means?
Those are words that I've heard before in my life other than breakfast, but I do not know what it means. No.
Rube Goldberg was a guy who did these drawings of machines. So basically it would be all these crazy things happen to break an egg. And so
I do like the egg one, though.
Yeah, filmmakers have used things like this where they make a Rube Goldberg. So if they say it's a Rube Goldberg machine, it's like something that goes through all these extra steps. Okay,
yeah, so that's a word. That's the words that I've heard. Those are the three words together. Machine, not breakfast. Got it. Yep.
Yes.
I like the egg one. The egg one I think is cool because it's a laser, and I am terrible at cracking eggs. I'll tell you, so many shells in my eggs. It's the worst.
Terrible. You just got to go for it. We met Weebo, the flying robot. I did not look up who did the voice for Weebo.
I think we looked it up, and I think it was Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
And that's just some girl or something? I don't know who that is.
Yeah, it's a woman. She's great. I don't know. That's all I remember was that she played Ariel in Disney's Little Mermaid.
Weebo's this little flying robot. Could fly anywhere. It's sentient, another sentient thing in this movie.
Yeah.
Can fly anywhere, has a little screen that pops up that plays a lot of Disney clips because it's a Disney movie, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It also sort of keeps track of what he's doing.
His calendar. Yeah.
And then we sort of set up that he works at a college that owes an amount of money to something, someone, maybe.
I love that you think that it got set up because this blindsided me. I was like, what are you people talking about? At some point, they talk about a debt, and I was like, the college is in debt? I don't understand what's happening right now.
And this was a thing that you did in old 60s Disney movies. You'd set up like this random debt that have to be paid. So somehow it's the responsibility of this professor that works there.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
This unknown debt for unknowable things.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's coming due in 3 to 5 days.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Huh?
Now, question for you on Weibo.
Yeah.
Is this Princess Leia's robot from the show, from the Disney show? It looks the exact same to me. The
R2D2?
No, the young baby Princess Leia in the show that she was just in.
Oh, I didn't watch that one. I had to turn it off.
Okay, she has a robot, Dan, that I think is the exact same design as Weibo.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and watch that show, but I don't want to. Obi-Wan. Sure. It was Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident that it's almost identical.
Pretty much the same robot. Could be.
I don't know.
So there's also another robot whose name starts with a W also.
Is this the arms?
Yeah, there's like one that does stuff, but it doesn't talk and it's not sentient, so we don't have to worry about that. So he's trying to make a magic energy source.
I guess so, yeah.
So now we set up that he has tried to marry the college dean, I think she is, and failed to get to the wedding twice.
Okay.
And now Weibo keeps showing a thing that's talking about the wedding, and then he just always looks differently, or Weibo's trying to hide it. I couldn't figure that out.
She's trying to hide it. So she goes through the calendar, and every time he looks away, she flashes the wedding, and then when he comes back, she turns it. So it's, she's technically doing what she was supposed to, but she's skirting the corners there because she's in love with him, Dan.
Weibo is in love with him.
She's deeply in love with her creator, which is weird. It's very weird.
And it's not just, it's like sexual love.
Oh, yeah.
She
creates
hold on. The robot is sexually threatened by the real woman.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Which makes sense, because as a robot, you don't have a lot going for you. No offense, robots.
So he goes to school, and there's this very classic gag of him going to the wrong...
Is that a classic gag? Because it goes on about 3 minutes too long. He's full on... You say.
I want you to talk about that classic gag of what happens.
He walks into a classroom, just barging in like he owns the place, starts talking, not noticing that, there are 2 naked people right in front of him, which are the subject of an art class, we can only assume. But here's the thing, like, if he walked in, started doing it, and it was like, oh, wrong class, I would get that. But no, he goes all the way to the chalkboard, he starts drawing things on the chalkboard, and then he turns around and includes the naked people in his scenario. He's like, we'll take M1 will be the naked guy here, and M2 will be the naked lady. And what happens when they come together, doing all this other stuff? Then he goes back to the board, pulls the board, and then he's like, and this is someone else's class. How did it take so long, Dan?
Comedy.
No, there's something wrong with him. This is too much. It's too much, and it makes me feel, I'm like worried for him.
And it was really interesting as I read some of the Amazon reviews, and one of the 2-star reviews was this movie was too racy. After that scene, had to turn it off. So he goes.
Maybe they had very young children, Dan. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. There's naked people, and he's just talking to them about them like they don't really matter.
Goes to lunch with his bride. Goes and somehow can get there and have lunch with her, but her assistant doesn't know her name.
Yep. So it seems like it's some sort of selective memory thing.
Well, we're gonna have an explanation as to what it's about.
Oh, no,
at the very end of the movie.
I'm gonna fight you hard on that. Because this guy wouldn't be able to function, but it's not. But it's not everything, and that's the problem. He would be forgetting his equations. He would be forgetting to go eat. Like, he would be forgetting a lot more things than just these very specific things that he forgets to make points in the movie. I don't like
to try to make jokes during the movie.
Oh, yeah, trying to make great jokes. Great jokes.
And that's the whole thing. You haven't built a character. You've built like a device to
but
set
a broken
up jokes.
Device. It's not. Yeah. It doesn't work.
No, a very flawed device.
Although, having said that, at this conversation, I'm sorry if you're going to talk about the conversation.
No.
The assistant brings up the wedding, and he has no idea what she's talking about. And then she's like, and he's like, oh, my wedding. And then the fiance goes, it's tonight. And Robin delivers the next line with such sincerity that I genuinely laughed so hard. He just looks at her and he goes, are you sure? And I just fucking lost it, man. I absolutely lost it. It was I could say a lot of bad things about this movie. And I will throughout this day. The one thing I will never say is that Robin Williams isn't a fucking treasure. He's so good.
And that's why in a movie like this, it just feels so wasted to me.
Yeah. Oh,
you're
100%.
Just like,
he's got so much talent, and there are moments where I almost buy this shit because he's so earnest and so sincere and so good. And he just looks at her, he's like, are you sure? So it's perfect. It's absolute perfect. Doesn't make any sense, but it's perfect.
Weeble's back home watching a Shirley MacLaine movie where she falls in love with Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
Fools Come Running, maybe is the name of that movie.
Oh, okay. Not Fools movie. Rush In with Matthew Perry, also great.
Don't believe so. And interesting movie. It's very out of context, unless you know that movie.
I don't know anything about it. And I was just like, does this mean anything? Nope.
So now we cut and he's doing science in the lecture hall. So instead of being in a lab at the college.
Yeah, he's just in his classroom.
He's in his classroom doing his big experiment. And
it is big, Dan. There's like a mile-long table full of things that I don't understand. Just different colored liquids, beakers. I don't understand what's happening. I don't know.
He's trying to make a propulsive polymer. And then, boom, Here comes Wilson, which is like not the right name for this guy.
No, not at all, but the right actor.
Yeah, he comes in, and this is the guy he used to work with, but this guy stole all his ideas and made money, but now he's working for the rival school, but he wants to steal more ideas, and he also wants to steal his fiancée.
Just says it very blatantly. He says, this weekend, I'm here to take your fiance and make her my wife. And I was like, well, good for you, dude. Way to just lay it on the table. You know what? Go with this guy. He knows what he wants.
No subtext, just like, here's text.
Not at all. Well, because it's for kids. The kids aren't going to understand subtext, Dan. They need to have a direct line of, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm the bad guy. But I'm rooting for him, to be honest.
Let's see. It's hard figuring out this.
Because she deserves better. No offense to Robin Williams' character, but she deserves better than a guy that's never going to remember she's even alive. You know?
So back at the house, he goes and starts doing, I think, more experiments.
Yeah, just more experiments in a different place. But it's the same experiment, right? Technically, it's an extension of that experiment, just in a different location. Feels like a silly idea.
And Weebo has deleted the wedding information, and then Weebo's getting hot, and then he's like, oh, you're getting hot. That's the key to everything. I was thinking cold, so now I will think hot. And then after just 2 minutes, he blows up the house with the quote, wow, what a bang.
What a bang. Which, I don't know if you remember this, but last week's episode, when we did All About Steve, Thomas Hayden Church falls down a hole and pops up, and he says, wow, what a drop. And that made me laugh hysterically. This one did not. I don't know why, but one of them worked, one of them didn't.
So we come to the wedding place. Sarah's there crying.
Yeah.
And as we as adults watching this movie just go like, why didn't someone just drive over to his house and pick him up?
Ding, ding, ding. Here's the thing. Okay, cell phones aren't a thing. I don't really care. Just have somebody at the house with him to get him dressed and bring him to the thing. He missed it twice already, lady. This one's on you. Okay? This one is entirely on you, lady.
The dude has like a mental deficiency, and if you do not understand that he doesn't remember the name of a person he's met 100 times.
1 billion times. Yeah.
That's a guy with a problem. That's a guy literally with a problem.
100%. Yeah,
not just a little
somebody
spacey.
with him, it's entirely your fault. I don't feel bad for you at all.
So boom, we go back there. Why did I write 2 years?
2 years. 2 years.
So boom, the house has exploded. He wakes up and he sees the thing on the floor, and so he kicks it. He kicks the container of flubber for some unknown reason. I don't know why you would ever
do that.
It rattles, and he opens it and he says, "Wow!" And then here comes the flubber, and here comes the wackiness of the flubber. Flubber is sneezing. Flubber is bouncing. He hacky sacks with it. He Russian dances with it.
Wait, I just want to. He's hacky sacking with it with multiple ones, and he goes, "I'm the hacky sack king." And if there's something in this movie that screams 90s more than a line saying "the hacky sack king," I don't know what it is. I used to love a good old hacky sack.
Weibo takes a picture, and then it bounces away. Does he say this? It has too much free will.
The robot does. Weibo says you gave it too much free will, which I didn't totally understand because I'll be honest, Flubber doesn't get a lot of free will in the movie. Flubber is taken apart and melted down into squirts. He's just slowly clipped away the entire movie. He doesn't really get a lot of choice in the matter, Dan.
So now we get this wacky series of things where he bounces around town. He bounces into a lady's ass. He bounces into this.
There's a nice fat joke where it becomes her ass for a second, and then, oh boy, guys, the 90s. What a wild time.
Bounces through people's houses, and then there's like this one kid who becomes this running gag who gets to see Flubber or things happen like 3 or 4 times. It's just like so uninteresting. So incredibly
I disagree because this is to me the most interesting thing in the movie because where does he live, Dan? I'm going to hit that later. I want you to think about this.
Maybe next door or maybe 4 miles away.
But it can't be next door. Because at some point he's driving his flying car for about 5 minutes and then flies into a tree and he's right outside the boy's window. But that boy sees everything that happens at his house too. Where does he live? This kid lives in some sort of vortex.
Oh, no. His parents are divorced. He lives in 2 different houses. So they've made the exact same room for him at both places so he doesn't feel any anxiety.
Dan, I love this idea. I think this is really. You know what?
I'm always solving the problems, Tony. I'm a script doctor. I'm solving your problems.
You're the script guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you.
I learned from Jay Lay. All it takes is a line. Oh, they're divorced.
A Jay Lay call out on the podcast. I know he's not listening, but there you go, sir. Good for you.
God bless that man. And so then he runs upstairs and goes and. Here comes the flubber. Boom. Surprise, I've got a catcher's mitt. Why doesn't it bounce off of a catcher's mitt?
That's Dan. I have a lot of those questions because I don't understand. It seems because they say that he exerts more kinetic energy than you put into it, and that's why it's going all around. But it also seems to be able to stop on a dime, which I don't think makes sense.
Disperse that kinetic energy.
It just decides when it stops. I don't understand that at all.
It also randomly decides when to start functioning too.
Right, but it also then has triggers. So there's no set rules for Flubber, and I just can't wrap my head around it, and it makes me confused the whole time. It ruins the whole movie for me.
Yes, if you're trying to figure out the science of Flubber, you've come to the wrong movie.
But the right podcast, Dan, solve it.
And that's when he names it Flubber for flying rubber.
Flying rubber.
I don't know if I knew that or not.
I mean, I know I didn't know it, but I'm not against it.
Meanwhile, he
back at the ranch
says sorry to Sarah and gets a ride home or something. I don't know. Maybe he goes to the church or something.
Gets a ride home. I mean, he definitely says sorry, and she says, "I don't give a shit."
Maybe then he rides a bike home or something. I don't
remember. Because his alarm goes off, his watch alarm goes off, and it's 6:30, and he's like, "Oh, my wedding."
Oh,
but then the robot is like, "Oh no, it's 6:30 in the morning the next day, you dumb," which is ridiculous. But why did his watch go off at 6:30?
I don't know. Okay. Probably there's a deleted scene where Weebo
readjusts his watch time. Okay,
wouldn't doubt it.
Right. Got it.
So the next day, now he's playing with radioactive isotopes. And basically, oh no, this is when he remembers it. Oh, what's his name shows up to give her a ride home. Wilson shows up to give her a ride home.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Because he was at the wedding, biding his time to make his move.
So the next day, he's got a radioactive isotope, and he's going to use that. If you put radiation into it, this is how you make it fly. Is you have to release radiation into the flubber, which
very
of course
safe.
Seems incredibly unsafe, seems very impractical for making cars fly.
Well, I don't know, because you got to get a lot of plutonium in Back to the Future. That seems to work just fine.
There it is. You got to seal it. So you can control it. And he sort of does a test, and it can fly.
But he also kind of controlled it before, but it's fine. It's fine.
Boom.
How does he control it with a remote? That was my question. I don't understand. It doesn't matter. I don't understand the science.
Actually, it makes a small amount of. Basically, what it is you probably have like a little lid on the radioactive thing, lead lid, and then that opens up and lets radiation out, which makes the
it's like more or less. Okay, all right.
So that's kind of how you could do a thing like that. That would make some amount of sense.
Prove it, Dan. Prove it.
So this is the point at which he says the alarm goes off 6:30, and then Weevil tells him, "Oh no, you missed your wedding."
It's done and dead, guy. So
now we cut to the school. There's Marcia Gay Harden. That's his paramour,
his lady love,
sitting at her desk. Okay, this is like the head of the whole school.
Sure.
The little calculator. Come on,
she's working on that debt, man.
She's running the numbers.
Got to figure out how much debt we need.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
Oh, that's how it works.
He's there. She says, "You have a lot of nerve." And then he's like, "But I've got Flubber." And then she talks about her heart. And then he's like, "Come watch Flubber." Climbs out the window, puts Flubber in his pants.
Yeah.
And then jumps out the window, but the Flubber decides to leave.
Yep.
So he falls, what should be to his death.
He falls out of a second-story window onto his back. Just straight onto his back. I will say, I did laugh because as he falls down, he goes like this. Ah! I don't know why. Just like a nice relaxed, I'm having fun. And then he hits the ground. No Flubber. His spinal cord is shattered. He can no longer move. But he's fine. He's totally fine.
No, he's very injured. I think she looks out the window and says, "We're finished." And you're kind of like, I'm sorry, if my crazy ex-fiance jumps out a window, I don't think I'm going to say we're finished. I don't think that's the time for a wacky line. I'm like, I'll call an ambulance.
No, because he just rolls over and he gets up. It's fine. Everybody knows he's fine, Dan.
Now, we're going to transition to this next scene.
Oh, okay.
And do you know what the next scene is, Tony?
Nope.
This is where you meet the rich guy. Do you want to talk about the setup for the rich guy?
Yeah.
What happens
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is Will Wheaton's playing the Tommy Kirk played this in the original movie. The two of them look very similar.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they look very similar. It's kind of nice. It's a really nice nod to the original.
It's a callback. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So what happens in this scene?
I'll try to walk you through what I remember just off my top of my head. So there's two low-level guys.
Goons / henchmen, one of which is the bad guy from Silence of the Lambs.
Puts the lotion in the basket. Yeah. And then the other one I also know, but I can't remember why.
He's one of those guys that's in lots of movies.
He's just around. Yeah, he's just around. And good for him. Good longevity. Good for you, guy. So they're there and they're like, oh, the brat's home. Let's see how this goes or something. And then the kid comes in and he's whining about how he got kicked off the basketball team because he failed grades and he's on academic suspension, which is like, that's how that works. And the dad's like, well, I didn't pay them all that money and maybe they owe him the debt. I don't understand. And then he's talking to the goons and he's like, didn't you tell that teacher to wisen up? And they're like, we told them, boss, but he either forgot or he didn't listen or something. And so like, how'd I do?
and then he commands them to go get dirt on the teacher.
Yeah. We gotta go blackmail him.
You were sitting here going like, did I literally went back and tried to figure out if I'd fallen asleep and missed a scene where we set any of this up. I mean, I really, because sometimes I'll watch movies on some platforms, and for whatever reason, it jumps like 6 minutes. There's like, it has this, I don't know which one it is.
You're watching stuff on the wrong things, okay? I'll tell you that.
It's like one of the platforms, you'll leave it there, then you come back to the movie, and it will just have jumped like 5 minutes.
It's like, you don't need this stuff. Let's move on to the good stuff.
So you'll always have to keep going back, and I don't remember, I don't remember which platform it is. So I was like, am I on that platform, and it skipped me a scene?
You weren't. No, this hits you right out of left field, and you're like, what just happened? I feel like I got to take notes just on the plot to try to catch up here.
We feel like we're 30 minutes in, and we're just like, and here are the 6 more characters that you're going to really have to worry about doing stuff.
You should have known all along, and if you didn't, it's your fault.
Okay, so we're like, okay, all in place.
Yeah, no, we get it now, except for I still don't get it. Do they owe him the money?
Yeah, I think so.
That's not how donations work.
Well, I think that's a separate thing. I think they owe him the money, and he donated a lot of money. 2 different things.
Doesn't make any sense.
So the bad guys go to the professor's house.
I'll give you $2 million that you have to pay back, but I'm going to give you $7 million if you let my kid pass all his classes. How does that sound? So I don't understand it. It's fine. I'm not rich. I don't understand how it works.
So bad guys go to his house. He's working in the basement. They're watching through the basement window. Very well lit out that window.
Oh, yeah.
Weibo should have seen them instantly.
100%. Yeah. It's an all-knowing robot. She would have noticed.
She kind of noticed these faces. Then he starts testing. So what he does is he picks up. So he's put the flubber into a lotion and has it in a little lotion container. And I think he refers to it as lotion.
Lotion. He says lotion several times.
Unscrews the top. It's greenish.
It's clearly just like something they bought from Target. Yep.
It's kind of greenish. When he puts it into a spray bottle, completely clear.
Totally clear. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Did that bother you that it was completely clear?
It only bothered me because I was like, well, that's just water, guys. You could have just put any food coloring in it at all, and it would have been fine. Now
put a little green in there to let us know it's flubber juice. But they didn't want to do that.
Juice.
So he rubs it on a golf ball.
What happens if you drink flubber juice, I wonder?
It shoots out your ass. He takes a golf ball and then he says this line that makes me very angry. He starts rubbing it all over there.
Yeah.
And he says, apply it evenly over the entire surface. Tony, was it applied evenly?
It's not even close. It is. He did a terrible coat job on it. I loved that line. That made me laugh a whole. Oh man, I lost my shit. No, there's goops everywhere. There's blank spots everywhere, and they show it. That's the problem. If they kept it in the wide, and he's just like apply it evenly, okay, done. But they go to like a close up of the golf ball, and it's not covered at all.
So you have a line that says something that he has not done, and
he has not done at all. It's great stuff. This
bounces
movie's
the
a 10 out
golf
of 10.
ball. It bounces around, then it bounces out the window into the face of the dude.
Doesn't actually make sense because it looks like it's bouncing up and down, and then all of a sudden it's going left and right. I don't understand this ball.
Bounces out, hits him, and now it shoots up into the air.
Which the guy's already dead because that ball's a really hard little ball that went through his skull like a bullet.
So his next plan is bowling ball.
Bowling ball, yeah. The golf ball didn't go very well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it even bigger. What?
Does the bowling ball? Can you even see the stuff on the bowling ball when he puts it on?
So he starts right around. There's a close up of him putting on it starting. You can see a little bit, and then he rotates it and keeps going. And the more he rotates, the less he does.
Oh, got it. So he does the bowling ball, and then
it goes out the window.
It goes out the window, and then we have
Crook number 2 is dead.
Whole comical thing where these balls go up and down, and then they're hitting these guys and not hitting these guys, and these guys have to hide.
But they're dead. The balls went up hundreds of yards, so high, and then came down. These guys are just a puddle of goo on the sidewalk right now.
And then he sprays it on something, and then somehow they get it on their shoes.
Well, so, because what does he do? He sprays the ground with it or something for some reason?
He accidentally sprays out the broken window, and then they step in it, so then they get in their ground, and then they bounce into the stupid kid's window, and he sees them in his...
Which, again, where does this kid live? Because later on,
right next door.
Drives 6 blocks, and he's somehow at the kid's house. Oh, man.
And so they just kind of flee, and now... He takes his car and he flubbers it up. He makes this whole gigantic thing that controls Flubber and can make it fly
in about 15 minutes, as far as I can tell.
15 minutes, and then the Flubber's locked in there, or half the Flubber. I don't know. Some amount of Flubber's in there. We don't know.
Yeah, he's torturing the Flubber. We just don't know how much of it is being tortured.
So then he flies in his car. Flies
because
away
the
because the car
Flubber,
can
being
fly.
a sentient being on some level, probably doesn't love being stimulated constantly while you fly it as a car. I'm just going to throw that out there.
So basically, he flies to his fiance's home, and then
just hovers like a fucking creep.
No, he gets to make the joke, "I'll never have to buy tires again."
Yeah, he does make that joke. That's right.
Oh, but before he gets there, he crashes into the stupid kid's tree. So here's the third kid thing.
Which is how I know he doesn't live next door, because he's been driving for a while. The guy's not driving in a circle, Dan. He's going somewhere. He's going to his soon-to-be wife's house.
Honks at geese, does loops, looks at the full moon, kind of solitude, then turns it off, it falls. Yeah. Then he almost crashes.
Hold on, don't skate over it. It's funny. They're up in the sky and they're looking at the moon, and it's like, the peace and quiet. And to get peace and quiet, he turns off the car that is flying them. And then they start falling. He doesn't panic. He just goes, oops, I turned it off. I'll just turn it back on. And it doesn't turn on. He's like, oh, must be flooded. Like, I don't understand what's happening. This guy is falling out of the sky, and he is cool as a cucumber. I love it.
So then he goes and creeps on his fiance with the ex-friend Wilson is hitting on her, and he spies on them, flies around. This thing makes a big noise.
It makes a lot of noise because he just turned it off in the sky so he could have quiet, and
somehow
then immediately.
They never hear this noise, and he's like literally just like floating, like
he's
right
just
there.
right up. He's probably 20 feet away from them in the sky. Nobody looks up one time. Nobody's like, I got a weird feeling there's something right over my shoulder.
I walk the dog at night, and I walk the dog early in the morning before the sun. Shouldn't do that. I have to walk the dog.
What? Not at night. You're gonna get robbed.
Could get robbed. The thing you notice when you're out at night is movement.
1,000,000%, because you're hyper aware because it's nighttime.
If there was a car floating in the air, making a noise, instantaneously you would notice it.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And you would probably think it's a UFO, which is cool, but you'd still be scared.
So the Wilson wants to kiss her. She doesn't kiss him. They make a date for the big game.
The big game.
As Wilson is leaving, he takes an apple. What's the name of the main character?
Let me check my notes. I don't know if I wrote that down anywhere. I don't know.
It's another half an hour in the movie till they actually say his name that I remembered it. Philip. His name is Philip.
I don't really like any of the names that they've chosen for their characters, and Philip doesn't feel good to me either.
Nope, terrible name.
Dr. Phil. I like it again.
Throws an apple at him, hits him in the head.
And yet, he still doesn't see him? He's been accosted from the sky, and you're telling me this guy still doesn't look up to see what hit him? Doesn't make any sense.
Back home, he's feeling crappy, goes to bed. Weebo's in the thing alone. Or maybe Weebo hits on it. Weebo hits on him, says, I wish I could make you feel better. And Weebo has kind of a sexy voice.
Kinda. Oh, Dan, I'm into it.
He goes to bed.
Yeah.
Weebo does a weird science thing. Too many of these people. I mean, goddamn, John Hughes, did he write Weird Science?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So he's stealing his own weird science bits. I guess you're allowed to steal your own bits if they're your own bits.
It's not even stealing when it's your bit, Dan. You're just reusing it.
He recycles his own terrible bit.
Well,
she makes a woman's face out of a bunch of random women's faces. Which is out of a bunch
of faces, yeah.
Didn't they take like different eyes from different people?
Yeah, but then when they come together, they're the same. So don't worry about it.
Makes a woman. What's the outfit of the woman that he makes?
It's like a nightgown, right? Like a creepy nightgown?
It's called a negligee.
Oh, sorry. It's a negligee. Very sexy. All right.
Then uses her projector to project this woman in 3D space.
That's where it falls apart to me, Dan.
I thought she was going to make a human. I thought she was going to 3D print a human.
She's going to make a body and inhabit the body. That's what I've thought too. But it's just like a weird ghost projection. You can't have sex with a ghost projection. Okay, I'm very disappointed.
He goes to the projection upstairs. The projection gets into bed with him. Mounts him.
Yeah.
And he wakes up, and the thing disappears, and then Weebo runs away, and then plugs herself in downstairs.
Yep. And then to be asleep. It's just assault.
It was just so weird to have him assaulted by a half-naked lady projection. It was just what did she think was going to happen?
Well, that's the thing. That's what I don't understand. There's no end game here, robot. He can't feel you. You're not going to get the satisfaction you're looking for, robot. You got to think of a plan B, Weebo. Okay? Because I'm on board. I want to be honest. I'm rooting for Weebo. In this movie, that's the relationship I want to see happen. You know, man and robot. I'm into it.
So he basically says, Weebo, I've come up with it. The big game. And we're just like, oh, God.
Oh, boy.
So he goes to the court, and he puts Flubber on the ball, which would fuck up the ball. He tests it on his shoes. And then he does this whole thing where he ties himself down with a bag of sand and bounces around.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. This entire sequence.
And Weebo says, isn't this cheating? And he says, it's equalizing.
Which is the same thing as cheating.
Cheating.
It's also not equal if you win. Do you understand that? Equal would mean a draw, Robin Williams. You are making it so you win.
It's cheating.
That's not equalizing.
So the idea is to get the Flubber on the kids. He puts it on tacks. Then he sprays it on tacks.
Yeah.
I wrote, Weebo releases the Flubber. Oh, I guess the Flubber leaves?
Well, he locks it in. He says, hey, don't let Flubber out. And then he also says no phone calls to Russia again, which I think is supposed to be a joke.
Okay. So let's see. Flubber.
Dan's lost in his thoughts here.
Okay, so then we cut to the locker room. He's in the locker room, adjacent to the kids,
some lockers, you know,
putting tacks in all of their shoes.
Why aren't they wearing shoes? They're all dressed for the game.
No. They're wearing their street clothes.
Are they still street clothes?
They're getting their pep. That is one thing the movie did get right. They're in their street clothes, but the coach is giving the pep talk when they're in their street clothes, which makes
it's not a pep talk though. This guy's talking about how bad they are.
We should have had a scene where he sneaks into there and goes to their lockers and starts doing it, and then they start putting on their shoes. And there's some sort of setup where the flubber is not going to activate until something happens. He's got some
sort of a timer on it where something must have to rub down or something. I don't know, but he's got to watch. He's like, and it's going to start now. I don't know.
That's pretty complex. Pets on the shoes, Weevil Flubber. The evil guy is at the game. He has bet against them.
Against Robin Williams' team. Yeah.
Oh, has he bet against Robin Williams?
Yeah, because they're playing his team. Robin's college is playing his college team. So this guy's rooting for his team, and then the lady's rooting for her team, Rutland or whatever.
What? I mean, okay, whatever.
Well, it's happening, all right?
And then we have the Flubber Mambo dance number.
Which is great. That was my favorite part of the movie. I had a great time. Doesn't make any sense.
Basically, back at the lab, Weebo is there. Flubber is doing Flubber things, and they put on music, and then the Flubber dances around. For like 5 minutes.
It's like a full-on dance number. I had a great time. I don't understand why it's in the movie. I don't know how that develops Flubber at all as a character. And I don't understand why Robin Williams was like, don't let Flubber out, because all it did was dance in his apartment or his house. So like it was totally fine. I don't know.
So the Rutland team is losing, and then the Flubber goes, and then they win.
Well, you're not going to talk at all about this crazy basketball game, Dan?
Not really.
We have to talk a little bit, just a little bit, because here's what's happening. It's on the kids' shoes, right? And so they are jumping. There are moments where they jump literally over the scoreboard.
All the kids.
All the kids. They're jumping over things. They're so high. They're jumping higher than a human could ever jump. And the other coach is like, goes to the ref, and he's like, hey, they're doing something illegal here. And the referee says there's nothing in the rule book about jumping high.
Jumping too high.
Jumping too high.
No rule against jumping too high.
Really, guy? Huh? They're jumping higher than humans can jump. That's different than just jumping high. They are clearly cheating on every level here. And everyone's just like, this is amazing. How could, yay, we're winning. Absolutely atrocious filmmaking.
So the one kid starts taking the tacks out. Robin runs down there and confronts them and says words. And she's just like,
He's like, oh, someone's having a problem with their shoes. Let me squirt some goo on it. What? Nobody would let you do that.
So the kids, he's like, at the proper moment, you got to jump for all your life. And the kid, it's like 1 second to go, and the kid jumps and he shoots across the whole thing, and he goes,
and then
through the basket.
Through the basket. How does that work? That's not Flubber. Flubber has nothing to do with this kid fitting through a basketball hoop. Not possible. Absolutely ridiculous.
His fiance at the end of this blows him off.
Yeah, I would blow him off too. This guy's nuts. Come on.
In the parking lot, he tells her that he flubberized the shoes.
He cheated.
And then she's like, you're remarkable. And then she's like, or someone says, it's over, Philip. Go home and play with your rubber.
Which is a funny line.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't understand the love story in this movie.
The rich guy is driving home, sees the flying car.
Yeah, because he's not good at hiding his magic powers.
Asks the kid, hey, doesn't your professor have that same car? And the guy's like,
yeah. He goes, what kind of car does your professor drive? He's like, this. It's like, yeah, I know. I just saw it flying in the sky. And nobody is shocked. Here's the thing that's so weird about this movie is everyone sees this Flubber do incredible things, and everyone's just like, yeah, this is every day. Oh, it's flying outside the window of our car. Totally normal stuff. Let's find out where he lives. What's happening? This is Looney Tunes world.
So he gets home. He's all bummed because the Flubber gambit didn't work, sort of.
Right. But it did work because they won the game. It just didn't win the lady.
So he does his whole confession to Weibo. Wish I understood women. I wish I understood passion. I wish I understood this and that and the other thing. I love her. And then he gives the line, that Tony's favorite line of the movie. I'm absent-minded because I'm in love with Sarah. But I'm not right for her.
How does that make any sense? He says,
I'm absent-minded because I'm in love.
Because I'm too
Sarah.
in love with her. But the most important, the thing that I forget the most is her. That doesn't make any sense, Dan. He's absent-minded because he loves science too much, and he's too busy doing his science to even think about this lady who no, it doesn't make any sense for the character.
Doesn't really mean anything to him.
It means really. I was so mad. I was livid. Because,
in the end, he's more obsessed with flubberizing shoes and doing all of these 100%. Things.
Even his attempt to get the lady back is him using his science because he wants to further experiment with this science. And it just happens to also coincide with the plan he has to get his lady back, but only sort of, only tangentially. None of this actually matters to her. Like, she doesn't, it's not like her whole life is riding on this basketball game, and if they win, then, oh, wow, you saved me. No, doesn't even mean, it means nothing to her. This guy's full of shit, Dan. Philip's a liar.
And then he says, it's just the two of us to Weibo, and just Flubber makes three. Two of us. So right. He acts like Flubber's like another person.
Because it's sentient. I don't know what to tell you, Dan.
So Weibo flies over to Sarah's house.
Yeah, because she had an epiphany.
Outside her window and says, can I come in?
You can't hear through that window.
Oh, it's just a screen.
Oh, it was? The window was open? I don't believe you.
The window was open. It was a screen. Bounced off the screen.
I don't believe you.
We're not going to even go into, if you can make a sentient flying robot, like, that's worth more than...
That can go anywhere. At the beginning, I thought maybe she had to stay at the house because that was like her power zone or something. She could go anywhere. She could do anything she wants in the entire world. But so what they do say, which I appreciate, is that he's like, oh, I've been trying to recreate it and I can't. She was an accident and I can't figure it out. However, here's the scary part. Now I'm jumping to the end of the movie and I apologize.
Yeah.
Or should I wait?
We'll just wait.
We'll put a pin in it. Put a pin in Weibo.
So then she plays back in speech. She recorded it. Sarah kisses Weibo, and what does Sarah do? Sneaks into his bedroom.
She breaks into his house and assaults him while he's sleeping. She'd be dead if somebody snuck into my house,
Tony,
an inch from my face.
You'd reach for your hidden bed knife that you keep right there, ready to go. Just like
right in the jugular, just going all over me. Oh boy, it'd be a mess.
It might even be worse because it could be a jelly knife. Tony's got the jelly knife for midnight jellying.
I mean, who does a midnight jam? You know what I mean? Get a little peach on there.
Sorry,
so good.
Your midnight jam night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't jelly. Dan. All right, maybe a preserve, but at least a jam.
And then
she just sneaks into his fucking house. It's so weird.
And what's the next scene after that, Tony?
I have no idea.
They're flying in the car.
Oh right, yeah. It worked out.
What's
his plan?
Hold on a second. If I went to your house and you were like, Dan, come check out my flying fucking car, I'd be like, Tony, you're so full of shit. Go fuck yourself. And then when I sat in your flying car and then we flew away, I'd fucking lose my fucking shit.
No, Dan, you're thinking about it wrong. You would do nothing. You would just be like, oh, we should sell this. This is cool. We should sell this to somebody. Someone's gonna like it.
I would get there. Don't get me wrong. I would get there. No, actually, I would pull out a knife and stab you, and then I'd fly to someplace that I could. Yes,
you're the bad guy of the movie. That's all he does. He takes my inventions. You son of a bitch!
Evil industrialist. Of course I am.
I hope that I survive this stabbing. You stab me, you throw me out the thing, but guess what? He falls from 3-story windows and he lives. So I'm gonna be fine. And I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna haunt you, sucker.
You have flubber in your pants.
I got flubber in my pants. I'm gonna bounce back just fine.
The car. That knife bounces off you, stabs myself. Oh, shit.
No, reverberations. But it just would keep going because you probably got flubber too, so it just stabs you repeatedly over and over. Can't believe you'd steal my invention.
They're flying in the car, and he's all like, as they're flying in the car, he's like, yes, we could use flubber to make shoes. And she's like, you have a flying fucking car.
He's in a flying car. And he goes, we could, look at sports would be great. Maybe some shoes. You're in a car that flies. It's the first of its kind, guy. You got to sell that shit.
I wrote, the bad guys are there. I'm not selling. Oh, wait. Yes. What? The bad guys. Okay. So they go to see the bad guys. Maybe they fly to the bad guys. There's something. Somehow they interact with the bad guys, and they say to the bad guy's like, "I'll buy." The bad guy's like, "I'll buy your flubber thing," and he's like, "I'm not selling." And then the next scene, they fly to Ford.
Goes and sells. Yeah,
and sells. I'm just like,
immediately sells. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand. Why? Who do you carry? You sell to? I'm not going to
sell to you because you are twisted. But I'll sell to other people that will definitely use it properly, like Ford.
But he doesn't even know that guy's the bad guy, right?
I guess that might be a good point. I honestly don't even know when we find out he's the bad guy. Just after they ransack his house, maybe?
Well, we just know he's the bad guy because he's...
Well, we know, but why does he know? Because at the end of the movie, they do go and fight them.
Why would he know that he's the bad guy?
I don't know.
What has the bad guy done?
The
bad guys were outside of his place and got hit by his bowling ball, not doing anything bad to him.
But I guess they do. They come and steal something, don't they? At the end.
At the end, they kill Weebo.
Yeah, that's what it is. They come and they break in, they kill Weebo, and then they go and fuck him.
Oh yeah. Okay. So at the end, I guess he does it.
All right.
So
yeah.
Once I was there, the bad guys attack the house. And Weebo tries to fight them, and they hit Weebo with a baseball bat.
Yeah, which is the right move, probably,
He gets back home. They've got a big fat check. And they also say they got a check that's even bigger than they could have imagined. So they didn't even know what they were getting. The Ford guy just says, here's the check. They didn't
negotiate at all. And the Ford guy was like, tell you what, I'll give you $18 billion. How about that? Let's start there.
They find Weebo on the floor leaking battery fluid. And then what happens, Tony?
It's pretty fucked up. I'll tell you what happens. He picks up Weebo and is like, oh, she's losing energy. I better save her. All I need to do is get you upstairs, Weebo. Oh, look at her. She's so bad. We just got to get her upstairs. Oh, Weebo, I love you. If only I could get you upstairs. 30 seconds. Oh, no, you're dead. Shoot. I should have just gone upstairs immediately and plugged her in. Instead, I talked about going upstairs for 4 minutes and you died in my arms. What a crock of shit.
One of my most hated things in movies is when somebody's dying in the middle of an action sequence and the person sits there and they're like, well, let's have a 45-minute discussion. Drives me crazy. This is 1,000 times more egregious. This guy talks about what he's supposed to do
and
to save the patient.
It's not difficult. It's not like, oh, I wish I had these tools that I just don't have. I can't do anything. I just have to walk up my stairs with you in my arms and plug in a cord. That's all I have to do. Takes me 8 seconds.
Why are you setting up a thing that you can do that you're not doing?
Never going to do. You have no intention of doing it whatsoever.
It's like,
maybe secretly Philip is like, well, now she's out of the picture. I can move on with my wife. Maybe he's just trying to placate the robot while it dies, but really he's happy she's dead.
Weebo dies, and he's like, what happens to the soul of a machine?
Of a machine, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Deep thoughts, man. I love it. And nobody says anything to that. It doesn't. They just continue with their conversation anyhow.
Life is gone. She was just a glorious accident. and then boom, her little screen pops up and it says stork, and you're just like, what? and then the woman says, well, what if there's like some secret file that is important?
Why would you think about that? Why is that? Why? How would that come to your mind? You don't know.
And then they're both like, but what was the word? The word that we just saw 30 seconds ago. What was that mysterious word?
She's absent-minded, Dan.
Mm-hmm. She's not.
She's not. She's very observant.
So they figure out that the magic word is the stork file?
Now, yes. And what does the file do, Dan? What is the file?
The file is plans to make your daughter that's part you and part me.
There are two things we have to talk about here. One, that's fucked up.
Oh, this is her. This is her in her negligee form. Blows him a kiss.
Yeah.
And says that the name of the fucking new robot should be We Bet.
Yeah, I don't understand any of that. It's creepy because she made a child for them. She made them a child. But aside from the creep factor, this means that this robot has figured out how to make other sentient robots.
Well, more
That's
importantly,
a terrifying thing, Dan.
It's like now they're just going to want to have sex with us.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope that that's where this goes. Because if it's not that, then they're going to take over the world. I'll tell you what. If the world that we live in, when robots gain sentience, is that they then just want to have sex with us, that's fine.
Don't. They're going to want to have sex with us all the time because that's all she ever wanted, right? That's her want.
Which is great. But if you think about it,
what if you're trying to drive to work? Do you really want to be having sex with a robot while you're trying to drive to work?
Yes, I do. Have you been on the 405, Dan? It is a parking lot. If I could be having a little fun time on the way to work, sign me up. I'm going 6 miles an hour. I'll be fine. I can figure that out. But here's the problem with sex robots, right? Is that we're not gonna procreate anymore.
Tony, tell us the problem with sex robots.
Is we're gonna be so busy with the robots, we're not gonna be with the humans. We're gonna stop procreating. We're extinct. The robots win either way.
They're gonna use up all our seed
for nothing, because it doesn't mean anything to them. These sons of bitches. These robots are smart, Dan.
So now they've decided they're going to fly to go save their flubber. They go to the rich guy's house, and then he goes in, and he's like, I'm here to sell you flubber.
What?
Then we sit down and have like this weird negotiation scene that makes no sense.
Yep.
And then he agrees to it, and then Wilson is there, and then he's got a squirt gun, which he squirts Wilson in the face. And then they fight.
He squirts... The bad guy squirts him in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an incredible scene. And I'm sad that you don't remember it, Dan.
I remember.
But the guy takes the water bottle. The bad guy takes the water bottle.
No. He frisks him, finds the gun. It's in a gun-looking squirt gun.
Oh, and it's a squirt. Yeah, it's a squirt gun.
Squirts him in his face. You love this. You love this scene, didn't you?
The bad guy's like, well, just give it to him. And so I think he squirts him more in the face. He's like, no, give it to him. He squirts more, and he's like, no, put it in his hand and give it to him. And then he squirts the hand. This is some great comedy, Dan. This is 10 out of 10. I was losing my mind. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
See, if this was in like a corny Tony movie,
it would be great.
I get it. It'd be great. But in this movie, you're just like...
Does it fit the rest of the tone of the movie? No, of course not. But there's a moment of brilliance in it, and I appreciate it.
So Flubber is flubbering around, and then it beats up the bad guys, and then it goes into Wilson's mouth, and then it bounces all around inside of him.
Which has torn him to shreds. Your intestines are not that strong. They're not going to be able to withstand all of that kinetic energy bouncing around. He is a mess inside.
Then it shoots out of his ass.
And it's scary. Because it shoots out of there.
And
but he's fine.
Tears a big hole in his pants. We don't know that he's fine. He just kind of goes like this.
And then falls over.
He's probably dead.
He's bleeding from every hole in his body right now.
Would have been better if there had been blood spurt out his ass when it came out his ass.
As he bursts out, just like blood and guts everywhere, and you're like, "Go, Flubber!"
They leave, and then next morning, newspaper professor saves college.
Which, Dan, how did that happen? I honestly don't understand how the plot gets wrapped up.
He got the big check from Ford, and then he could just use that to pay off the debt of the school.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, but the guy's still going to accept the check. He just got assaulted. Isn't he suing Robin Williams for millions of dollars for damages?
Yeah, the guy is with the ass blown out, maybe. Probably.
This guy's got to get a new ass. You know how hard it is to get a new ass this day and age? It's ridiculous.
And then they get married, but they get married on videotape because he can't be there for an unknowable reason.
He's doing experiments, I guess. He doesn't even forget. He just decides he doesn't want to be there. I don't know.
And then We Bet is all through this, like, saying words in, like, this teenager patois.
Yeah.
And you kind of don't... It's so weird. And then the stupid kid for the final... This is why this movie's a failure, is because this is the third
final bit. Yeah,
and
this is your final...
Too many. The kid is flying in a plane, and he opens the thing, and they're on their honeymoon flying in their flying car where there are planes flying at the same level.
Yeah. So incredibly dangerous, by the way, to even get in that airspace. But can they fly that high without being in an encapsulated thing?
I mean, typically you're pressurized, so I don't know. I don't know.
Right, and they're flying the same speed as the airplane because they are parallel to the airplane. So they're going, I don't know, a bunch of, what do they fly, knots? I don't even know how planes fly, but they're going fast.
Miles per hour. Kilometers per hour.
Boats are knots, right? I don't know.
Yeah, boats are knots.
I'm going 42 knots. That's all I know.
So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you probably can't breathe up there because you can't,
right? It's the whole point of the plane.
Top Gun has oxygen on, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%. 100% they do. And then he unhooks it. It's great stuff. God, I love it.
That's the end of the movie.
This movie is nuts. This movie doesn't make a lick of sense. I love it.
And knowing about John Hughes makes it actually sad for me.
I agree. Knowing that it's John Hughes actually makes me enjoy it a little bit less. Because I had a good time with this movie. I laughed a bunch. I had fun. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good movie.
I never laughed once.
You didn't laugh one time?
Not really.
Yeah, you're jaded, man. You got problems. It's fine.
Anything else, Tony, about the movie?
No, just it's wild. It's a wild ride. Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. And it was kind of not a big hit, so I don't think they ever made any more.
I had this thing on VHS in those old Disney, like big plastic, open it up like that was awesome.
Clamshell,
yeah, that's good. That's good, Dan.
So why don't you tell us about something else you liked this week, since you like this movie?
Well, we knew it was coming. Ted Lasso, season 3.
It
dropped
started
this week.
The whole thing, or just one episode?
God, no, they're doing one episode at a time, and it's killing me, Dan. Only one episode is dropped. By the time this comes out, it'll be a couple, but it is killing me. So here's what I did. We watched the entire series and then watched the premiere, and as soon as the premiere was over, it's 40 minutes. And I was like, well, I guess we're starting over again. So now I'm about 2/3 of the way through the series again. So I've decided every week I'm going to watch the whole series again as we continue to grow. And then, then I'll watch it all like 12 times by the time it's over.
Wait, hold on. There's 6 episodes per? How many episodes?
No, there's like 12 episodes per.
So you're going to watch
10,
like 12?
There's 10 in the first season, 12 in the second season. I don't know how many there's going to be in this one.
So you're going to watch 11 hours of Ted Lasso before you watch?
Every week. And then it's going to grow exponentially, not exponentially, but it's going to grow linearly. Linear? Say that word.
Literally.
Linearly. There it is. Like linear.
Sure.
Like a line.
Oh, like a line.
Anyhow, so that's what I'm doing. I'm watching a lot of Ted Lasso. I'm deep in it, and I love it. I love it so much.
I wanted to find a show, and I was like, what show have I not seen? Click, 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 click. And I was like, oh, this Kindred show on Hulu.
Yep, on Hulu. Yeah.
So I was like, I'll give that a try. Watched the first one, liked it.
Okay.
So I'm going to watch another one.
That's it. That's the whole report. I liked it.
I don't want to say anything about it because I didn't know anything about it. I knew that it might be science fiction.
Book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sci-fi. It's based on a book that Naomi has read. I have not read it, and we're going to watch the show together and see how someone that has read it, someone who hasn't read it, feel about it.
Like the idea that,
okay.
I was like, I thought it was going to be more science fiction-y and maybe more horror-ish.
Okay.
But it's kind of
not so much.
Interesting. It's interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting. Because when you go into it without any information, which I had no information.
Yep.
I liked that. And that'd be my suggestion. If you don't know what it is, go in with nothing, knowing nothing. And I think
all right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it, kids.
Tony, give us a movie for next, maybe 2 weeks, because we're going to take going to go back to the vaults again. Yeah, we're going to take
a small break next weekend. So next episode's going to be a From the Vaults.
We're just late.
Which people love.
Third time this year. We're pretty lazy.
Here's the good thing is we have 135 episodes in the vault, so we've got plenty to miss. Yeah. But in 2 weeks, as promised, Dan, if anybody watched All About Steve, I alluded to a movie that came out the same year that I think is worse, and we're just going to watch it. It's called The Ugly Truth with the Heigl lady and Gerard Butler. I hate this movie so much, and I haven't seen it since it came out, so I hope it lives up to my hatred.
Now, my question is...
Because it might not.
I want to ask you this before we start it, before I see anything of it.
Ask it to me. What do you
Who's more hateable in the movie, Katherine Heigl or Gerard Butler?
From my memory...
Yeah, just,
it's Katherine Heigl.
Oh,
but to be fair, you can't understand half the words that Gerard Butler says, so I don't know if I'm supposed to hate him or not.
Oh, interesting.
This is what I remember. Again, in 2009. I haven't seen this in 13, 14 years, people.
Yeah.
But I saw it one time, and I've hated it since. So I'm excited to go back and see if I was right. I wasn't wrong, but if I was right or, over exaggerating it, who knows?
Now, has this been on your list forever? And
this has not. It just came up when we were talking about All About Steve.
I just remembered how much you hated
it. I was looking at the list of other movies that came out in 2009, because I was like, there's no way All About Steve is the worst movie to come out in 2009. And lo and behold, it was not.
Not even close. Cool. So there you go, Flubber. Hopefully we'll get back to a movie that is truly, where people need, like the Flubber, it's like, I did not enjoy it. It is a kid's movie.
Did. Yeah.
And I didn't, there's weird stuff, but, you
didn't, a lot of weird stuff.
Call for the death of anyone, Someone should be punished for this. It's one of those, no one needs to be punished for this movie. It's trite. It's a trifle. So we'll be back with The Ugly Truth, which hopefully we will have just an amount of venom for it that is unbelievable.
I feel like I'm going to either way. Whether it's deserved or not, I feel like I'm going to hate it. I don't know.
Tony spent 14 years, volcanically building up this hate.
Bubbling up here. I'm ready to erupt.
If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, maybe subscribe or leave a comment. Or if there's some movie you'd like us to do, we will do whatever movies you like us to do, actually, you could pick us one of the greatest movies ever, which,
and I'll still hate it.
We'll watch it, but we're going to probably if you pick a really good movie for us to do, we'll probably call into question what your problem is.
Well, now they're not going to do it, Dan. Now you just talked them out of doing it. We won't do that. Send it in.
Well, no, I don't want people picking good movies for us to do.
I want people to just listen to us and pick movies, Dan. Okay, any attention is good attention.
Tony's an actor. All he wants is attention.
It's what I crave, ladies and gentlemen.
So we'll be back next week with a From the Vault, and in 2 weeks, whatever that Katherine Heigl was, The Ugly Truth.
The Ugly Truth.
So maybe we'll see you then.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey,